All right, we are live again. Carroll for Council campaign live every Thursday. So 6:30. It's a special day today because a lot of people across Alameda County and across the country have received their ballots and have started voting. So sometimes people need a little help to know what things are actually about. Sometimes we need some help from our friends. And today I have a very special guest who is also a friend who's going to help me out and help us all out so we can help each other out. We have the special Miss Tonya Love. Wonky knows all things politics, hashtag Oak Meeting, got me on Twitter. I mean, just like my versus partner, Jill Scott, Erica Badu. This is my girl. So happy to have you here with us, Tonya. Also working on the campaign, doing an amazing job. And we're going to talk about our ballot tonight. Thanks, Tonya. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm going to share my screen real quick, but I just want to say I'm so happy to be able to do this. I am like a super wonky person, like you said, and I just like to talk about politics and explain things and hopefully get people involved. So that's what I, enjoy doing. So can you see my screen?
I cannot see your screen.
Can you see it now?
No.
Why not? Because I can, I'm seeing it like.
There we go.
There you go. Okay, great.
Go rhythm name.
I'm going to go ahead and get started because everyone's time is so important.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay, can you see this first one?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to TDL Political Corner, where I talk about the ballot measures for November election 2020. And for those of you who don't know, I am always up on Twitter, and this is my Twitter handle. I also have a Facebook page called Love for the Community, so please feel free to follow that. Yay! So we're going to just jump right on in. Okay, yeah. So one of the things is that it's important is that everyone remember these important dates, okay? So you should have gotten your ballot by now. Alameda County had a deadline by October 5th to put them in the mail, and I got mine in the mail. I'm so excited. So after tonight, after this discussion, after we figure out how we're voting, I'm going to fill mine out, and I'm going to put it in the mail, or maybe I'll even walk it to Roots Community Health Center, which is where my polling place is. I just outed where I lived. But anyway, hope everyone get theirs and fill theirs out. You can do early voting as soon as today, October, or last Monday, up until November 3rd. You have until 8 p.m. to drop it off. If you haven't registered to vote, the last day to register is October 19th. You need to postmark the application by October 19th. Or you can go in person to the register or to your polling place and do a conditional ballot where you register and vote the day of on November 3rd.
Tonya, I have a question though.
Yeah.
Are you telling people to just wait until November 3rd?
No.
No. Why not?
Because it's so important to, do it early because, there's a lot of, right now there's a lot of fear that stuff isn't going to happen on time. And so it's better to, get stuff taken care of early because you don't want to have the risk of something going wrong. Not to say that, anything will go wrong, but why risk it? Do it now. You got time.
Be safe.
Be safe. Right. If you have an absentee ballot, which everyone does, you need to return it by mail. If you're doing it by mail, you need to postmark it by November 3rd. But no, you should mail in your ballot by October 20th to be sure that it will arrive by election day on November 3rd. So you have it right now. That means you have a couple of weeks, but don't wait. Fill it out tonight. Turn it in. But if you wanted to do it by mail, at least have it postmarked by October 20th. So that way we know for sure it's going to get there on November 3rd. Okay? Are you taking a picture?
No.
Okay. It sounded like somebody did. But that's it. Any questions? Any other questions, Carol?
Nope. Sounds good.
So what are we voting for in November, Carol? Who are we voting for?
Well, there's a lot we're voting for. President, number one. but there's a bunch of other races that are happening in California. Congress, senators, assemblies, judges,
My slide.
transportation. I'm reading all of your slides. City council, yay! School board members, woo! Community college trustees, go.
But what we're talking about today are the 12 state ballot measures and 6 local ballot measures, okay? We're going to go over each measure, what they are, what a yes vote means, what a no vote means, and then I will indicate how I'm voting. You will see a little heart where I'm voting, and Carroll can say how she's voting.
With
Maybe
a broken heart.
No. Carroll will say how she's voting. And then maybe we'll agree, maybe we won't. But we're friends. It doesn't matter. We'll get along. We'll come out. We'll still survive.
Yes.
Okay. You ready?
Let's get into it.
Okay. But first, what are bonds? A lot of people, there's a lot of propositions that are saying we need to ask permission for California to do a bond for Woo to Woo. But are you guys clear on what a bond is? Carroll, what do you think a bond is?
It's what has to be paid when you get locked up at Santa Rita.
Maybe yes, but what they're asking people for permission is for the state to actually borrow money from investors. There's a lot of people who are really wealthy that have to have a lot of money to spare, and so they invest in bonds, right? And in that, what they do is the government then borrows money from those bonds. And so since it's a state, province, or county, that borrowing is really secure. When you hear a city say, oh, we got a great credit rating from, Woo to Woo, it's because it's talking about that government's ability to pay back loans, pay back those bonds. And so when the state asks you for permission, they're asking you for permission to borrow money from investors. And they don't have to pay it back right away. They can pay it back over as much as 30 years. But during that time, it's going to accrue interest. So if you are someone that's interested in investing money, a great return on your investment is to invest in bonds. You're not going to get the money right away, so don't do it if you want the money today. But if you're interested in a long-term investment, bonds are great. Okay?
Broken heart. Okay, so we're going to get into that.
Okay. All right, we're going to jump right on in. So Proposition 14 is just that. The state is asking for your permission to borrow money via bonds to pay for stem cell research. Some of you may remember that in 2004, California already approved via Proposition 71 a bill for stem cell research. Some of you may remember that there was this huge issue about whether or not the government should actually pay money for stem cell research because of the whole, right to life battle. Some people felt like, harvesting stem cells was unethical and immoral. And at the time, George Bush banned the federal government from investing in stem cell research. But California was like, oh, no, we feel that this actually might be beneficial to solving, some of the most difficult diseases. So in 2004, California approved a $3 billion bond measure to pay for stem cell research. And right there, you can see Michael J. Fox. He's like one of those people that really supported it because, he wants to find a cure for the disease that he's suffering from. So what happened is now we're in 2020 and that money has run out. And so now the scientists and the people that are working on stem cell research are saying we're running out of money. We need to do this again. And now we're going to ask for $5.5 billion. And it's going to end up being $7.8 billion because I talked about these bond investments accrue interest over time. So in actuality, its total cost is going to be $7.8 billion. But it's going to be on stem cell research, training, building facilities. And in the past, there was research, thousands of clinical trials was done with this money, and they were able to, find 2 cures for deadly blood cancer. And then they just want to continue on with that work. And so if you vote yes, you're saying, yes, I want California to spend more money on stem cell research and training and building facilities. But if you vote no, then you're saying, no, I don't want to spend money on this. So Carol, what are your thoughts?
I love science. We need more research done around some of the issues that Michael J. Fox is suffering from. I'm concerned, and I'm always concerned with lining the pockets of the wealthy. Bonds are a way that we fund our government, but it is still a way that rich people, very, 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 very wealthy people, are able to develop and build their wealth in a way that we can't. It's challenging. It's a deep philosophical concern. It's one of the reasons why the Peace and Freedom Party doesn't support bond measures. But I do think we have to continue to build inside of the system that we have, while we recreate new systems and structures. I'm going to vote yes on Prop 14.
Right. Okay. And Tonya Love also votes yes. And the reason why I'm voting yes is because, like you, Carol, I've had a varied career. And I actually started off in the health and science research career. I used to work at UCSF at the Brain Tumor Research Center, and I used to do science on, identifying malignant brain tumors. But anyway.
Wow.
I was a science tech. I was not a scientist or a PhD. Don't be calling me Dr. Love, because I do not have a PhD. But in that, I understand how science works. I understand how it takes a long time to come up with results. And then one of the reasons why I'm really concerned about this idea that President Trump has, that there's going to be a vaccine by November. I don't believe that. I think they're going to accelerate the process, but to really make it safe and make sure that it actually works, I'm a little freaked out that they're doing it in such a quick time. So, but in any case, I believe in science. I believe in, the need for this research and the need for training. And so I'm voting yes on this. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Love. We agree.
Don't call me Dr. Love. Thank you.
It's a cool name. What are you going to do? Anything you put in front of love is cool.
Okay. So moving right along. Were there any questions about that? Is everyone cool? No questions?
No questions.
Okay, moving right along. Proposition 15, schools and community first. I'm sure everyone's seen these commercials. But basically, Proposition 15 is looking to adjust Proposition 13, which was passed in 1978. And for those of you who don't know, Proposition 13 limits the rate of property tax for those who own homes or buildings, and it limits the property tax rate to according to the original purchase price. So normally in other states, if you buy a property for $100,000 back in 1980, and the value of the house doubles to $200,000, then that means your property tax would probably double too. But because of Prop 13, if you buy a home in, 1980 and your value increases by double the amount, you still get charged the tax rate based off the price that you purchased the house. And so what that does is it lessens the amount of revenue that states get for property taxes. And property taxes are used to pay for a lot of stuff, particularly at the local level. And so since Prop 13, you guys might have seen that local cities will bring on a new tax measure almost every year to pay for almost everything, like parks or libraries or new streets, all kinds of stuff. I think, we have one for Oakland, or at least OUSD, right now, so they can pay for upgrades of schools and stuff. And that's because the state loses out on money every year because of Prop 13. And so what Proposition 15 wants to do is to say, you know what? We don't want to mess with residential homes. We know that people are, trying to, save as much money as they can if you just having a regular house. But we know that there are commercial buildings, companies that own property that have millions in revenue, And they are benefiting off of the Prop 13 rules to this day. Companies like Disney that have been here forever are benefiting off of the same low purchase price, and they're paying literally nothing in taxes. And that's money that we could be using to help our schools in our local cities. So Prop 15 is saying commercial properties, business properties would pay taxes based on the current market value of the property that they're on. And the revenue from that can generate between 6.5 to 11.5 billion. That money will go to cities and school districts. And what this bill does, it exempts smaller businesses that make less than 3 million per year, and also exempts farms. So a yes vote on Prop 15 is what it will do. It will split roll the property tax so that residential homes can still benefit from Prop 13, but commercial and business properties would have to start paying market rate value. And a no vote keeps the system the same. Okay? So Carol, how are you voting on it?
It just makes me think, like, you hear a lot of conversation about our schools are deteriorating, our kids go to facilities that are breaking down. I think it's really critical that we have the investment in our infrastructure and our roads and the different things, our healthcare system, that Prop 15 would help us kind of get ahead on. Right now, we're struggling, especially in Oakland, where our city is pretty much buoyed by the property taxes that homeowners pay.
Mm-hmm.
And every single election, it's another one and another one. But so if we had these commercial businesses paying their fair share, then it would help. And I sometimes these businesses like will use mom and pop small businesses or small homeowners to say it's going to hurt them. That's how they get their votes and how they get people to support it. But I'm totally in 110% in support of schools and communities first. That is how we invest in our children. That is how we invest in our futures. Go Prop 15, yes. And we have a question from Andre Wright.
Okay, what's the question?
Would it cause businesses to leave California? They will probably say that, but California is the 5th largest economy in the nation. We could be our own country if we seceded today. So people come to California not just because of the wonderful weather, but all of the different things that California offers. And I personally don't believe that businesses would leave the state. And I think the investment in our children, like what is Walt Disney World going to do? Pick up and go to Albuquerque? Where are you going to go? So no, the big corporations that are benefiting, these older corporations that are benefiting from this, aren't leaving. And actually, there are very, very large corporations who are supportive, like, I hate to say because they're such monsters. Facebook is one. Google. There are a lot of big tech companies that support schools and communities first, because right now the playing field is imbalanced for them when they're having to compete against larger corporations that have been established for a lot longer. So no, I don't think that they're going to leave.
Yeah, I think I shared a slide with everyone that was done by Alfred Chu. And to back up Carol's assertion that, companies, big tech are for it, the Chan Zuckerberg Foundation has donated $6 million in support of Prop 15. So if they're against this, they wouldn't give that much money to it because they believe that this is something that needs to be done for California. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. So Tonya Love is in
there we go.
15 too. So yay, we're in agreement. Fist bump for me and Carol.
We're going to need that revenue post-COVID.
Definitely, for sure. All right, moving right along. Proposition 16. Proposition 16 repeals Proposition 209. How many of you were alive when Proposition 209 was passed? I was. Yeah, I'm dating myself. So for those of you who were, to refresh your memory and those who weren't, Proposition 209 was passed in 1996. And what it did was it ended affirmative action in the state of California. one of only 9 states in the United States that currently bans affirmative action. One of 9. Okay. So what that means is that now states, because of this current law, states cannot consider race, ethnicity, or gender when it comes to hiring, contracts, and admissions. And I think we all know that as a result of Proposition 209, we've seen a drastic decline in African American enrollment in UC system. We've seen a decline in African American and women and other, ethnicities being able to have access to jobs. And so what's happening now is there's been efforts to repeal Prop 209 for a long time. But because of the discussion that America is having right now when it looking at race and how, communities of color are being treated systematically, the state has said, now's the time. And one of our legislative heroes, Shirley Weber, along with a number of other legislative members, said, now's the time to really look at appealing affirmative action and repealing Prop 209. So they put Proposition 16 on the ballot. And so a yes vote for Prop 16 will allow public agencies to consider race, ethnicity, and gender in hiring, contracts, and admissions. And a no vote just keeps things the same. That we will again be one of 9 states that bans affirmative action, that does not consider the fact that even though by law you're not supposed to consider race and ethnicity, what's happening is that race and ethnicity actually affects your ability to compete equally. Because we all know that African Americans, Latinos, and some API communities do not have access to the same education, the same access to opportunities that allows them to compete equally. It's one thing if we all had the same education opportunities and experience to be able to say when we turn in our resume, it's all going to look the same. That's not how things work. And so there's natural advantages to being, a man. There's natural advantages to being white. And that's what repealing Prop 209 will account for. So it's not about quotas. It's about considering a person's ethnicity and gender and how that impacts their ability to be in the same level as everyone else. So yes vote allows public agencies to consider race, ethnicity, and gender in hiring, and a no vote keeps things the same. Carol.
Shout out to Monica Brooks for protesting Prop 209 in the first place.
I did too, Monica Brooks.
This is super. I just want to say, she said, like, as a staff member at a California university, she can say that Prop 209 creates an inequity in funding to students of color in the UC and CSU system. That inequity widens the achievement gap. And Jai Wright, or Jay, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, seconds that.
Yeah.
Jay?
Yeah.
So yeah, no question. It's a wrap.
Fun fact.
Yes.
Yay. Fun fact. When Prop 209 was passed and UC had to figure out some other ways to recruit and help support communities of color, there used to be an organization called the Black Recruitment and Retention Center. But because of Prop 209, they couldn't call it that anymore. And now it's called the Berkeley Recruitment and Retention Center.
It's like, I don't see color. I don't see race.
Yeah. But it makes me sad because BRRC had such a history, such a legacy. Everyone who was a person of color who was Black went through BRRC. And to have that history and that culture just kind of wiped away because the name change was really, really sad for me when I heard that. And so that's what Prop 209 does. When you make things about equal, you're erasing the history and the culture of communities. And that's a result of, Prop 209. So Tonya Love is in support of Prop 209. I hope you guys are too. And I hope you guys vote yes on that. All right.
You're cutting the top of your head off, Tonya. I want to see your whole face.
Why? Because I'm pretty?
Because you're so gorgeous. Ooh.
Thank you. All right. Moving right along.
Yes.
Proposition 17, parolees' right to vote. Did you know, fun fact, those who are in county jail or on supervised county probation can vote. So if you know anyone that's in the system who think they can't vote, please let them know that they actually can vote. But state prisoners and parolees cannot. And currently there are 50,000 Californians who are on state parole. So what's happening is now we're putting a proposition in 17 to allow those who are on state parole the right to vote. And it will also, just as a consequence, allow them to run for office, because our state law says that if you can register to vote, you can also run for office. So you just can't be convicted of perjury or bribery, because, you know, that kind of makes your trustworthiness in question. So if you were convicted of perjury and bribery, you know, you can't run for office, but you'll still be able to allow to vote. You just can't run for office. And a no vote, keep things the same. So, you know, opponents, I'm just going to go a little bit into that. Opponents say, you know, parole is usually reserved for those who, you know, commit violent crimes, those who are murderers or rapists. You know, they want them to wait until after parole to be eligible to vote. Some proponents say, you know, we always talk about how we want those who are in the criminal justice system to be able to be rehabilitated, to, you know, be changed and be able to come back into society and be responsible citizens. But when we take someone's right to vote away from them, it kind of just doesn't do it. You know, they don't have any stake in the game. And it's just a little unfair. You know, if they've done their time, you know, and they're in the process of, you know, becoming, you know, productive citizens, let's give them the full rights of what that means and allow them to vote. I'm kind of, you know, leaning towards a certain way, as you can see. But Carroll, what do you think?
I think right now, not even just right now, this country has always limited the right to vote to certain specialized groups, and it primarily was intent to benefit white male landowners. Very little has actually shifted over time, and everything that has shifted it has been because of public pressure. I believe that everyone should have the right to vote. We're going to get into a little later about what age, but yes, I believe you should have the right to decide who will represent you in this country. And so, yes, I'm voting to support Prop 17.
And just to add to that, I mean, this limiting the right to vote is almost inherently racist, because our criminal justice system has been racist in the sense that you see more communities of color end up in that system. Absolutely. Because of a lot of different reasons. Yep. So basically it suppresses the right to vote for, you know, African American and Latino and other communities. So Tonya Love is in support of allowing parolees the right to vote. And I hope you are too. Yay, Carroll. Another fist bump. We are in agreement. We thought we would be in opposition on that.
I know. I definitely thought we would.
All right. Moving right along. Proposition 18. You alluded to this. Allowing 17-year-olds the right to vote. You know, it was estimated that, you know, only 22% of 18 to 34-year-olds are likely to vote this election. And so what we want to do is we want to broaden that field, right? We want as many people as possible be allowed to vote. And we were thinking that if you were 17 during the time of the primaries, we should allow you the right to vote in the primary if you turn 18 by the time of the general election. I think, you know, because there's a lot of 17-year-olds and 16-year-olds who are super active, right? They're active in their community. They're going to city council meetings. They're doing all this stuff, yet they don't have the right to vote. And so we would allow those, you know, super active kids the ability to raise their voice in this election. Well, not in this election, but basically in future elections. And so to keep that civic engagement going. So yes vote will allow 17-year-olds the ability to vote in primaries as long as they turn 18 during the general election. And a no vote keeps things the same. You just have to wait until you're 18 to vote, period. Thoughts, Carroll?
Thoughts are that in Oakland right now, some of the most amazing, dopest organizers are young people. So I want them as a former teacher and as a mother to amazing young people, I want them to have the right to vote. I'm going to support this. Absolutely.
Yay.
And I'm going to give a shout out to votewithoaklandteachers.com.
Right. TDL is in agreement. Yay. Another one down. Moving right along. We're going through these pretty quickly now because we want to keep on time. Yeah. Proposition 19. Oh my goodness. You can actually see where I land already. But anyway, Proposition 19. Did you know that we've already tried this last year with Proposition 5? But you know what this does, it adds an actual exception. So Proposition 5, what they were trying to do is to allow seniors to be able to take their Prop 13 benefit of being able to pay a low tax and take that Prop 13 benefit to another house if they decide to move. But it didn't pass. So they're trying again. But this time, not only are they allowing property tax transfers for seniors, they're also allowing those who lost their house in a wildfire the ability to keep that original property tax rate when they're buying a new house. And they're also allowing this for disabled and any other disaster victim. But in addition to that, the problem with Prop 5 was people were like, well, how are we going to be able to benefit from that? We're going to lose a lot of money if seniors can just up and move and keep their, original Prop 13 tax rate. So they're like, how are we going to quote unquote pay for this? So they decided in order to pay for it, what they would do is get rid of this loophole of inherited property transfer. So currently, if you own a home and you grow old and you pass away, you can actually pass your home on to your family member and they can inherit that property and they can get that same tax rate. So what this bill would do is get rid of that loophole. And they are hoping that the resulting revenue from getting rid of that loophole will go directly to helping protect the state against fire. Okay, so a yes vote does three things. It would allow seniors, disabled, and wildfire and disaster victims to be able to have that Prop 13 tax rate and transfer it to a new property if they need to move or have to rebuild after, a disaster. But it would also get rid of that inherited property transfer loophole where person can just, live in their house and donate it to a family member. And then the resulting revenue savings from that will go toward fire protection services. And a no vote will just keep things the same. So as you can see, I kind of already told that I'm a little bit, iffy on this. I don't know. Because on the one hand, I think we do need to have some money for wildfire victims. It's inherently unfair that they're losing their houses due to climate change and wildfires. But at the same time, I don't want these housing loopholes to continue. So I'm really kind of just, iffy on what to do. Carroll, I would love your advice.
I think that if the state of California was truly interested in fire prevention, there are a myriad of things that they can do. I think the governor could stop maybe giving fracking contracts to environmental polluters. I think we can do controlled burning. I'm not an environmentalist, but I know there are several groups that have endorsed our campaign that have several ideas and have talked to scientists about how to actually get climate change under control. And so I want to ensure that we're not passing on these different loopholes that allow our government to further housing inequality. So I'm not going to vote for this.
You're a no.
I'm a no. Wait, do we disagree?
Not inherently. You're just giving me something to think about before I vote.
Wait, I gotcha. What if they are going? So Andre Wright is saying, what if where they are going has a lower tax rate? Then can they choose that rate? Are we talking about housing or are we still on that other thing?
Oh, it's on Proposition 19. So he's saying that if a senior needed to move, would they be able to benefit from purchasing? Oh, no. So let's say if they wanted to buy a new home and it had a lower tax rate, would they be able to just take that lower tax rate?
That's a good question, Andre, right? I think we should write that down. And you should inbox us your email address so we can answer that.
I think I actually have it because Andre Wright is the town mayor. You may not know this. He's super popular. So
We have a celebrity on with us tonight?
yes.
Oh, dang.
In any case.
Well, good. So you know how to contact him. Great.
I
So
do. We can research that and find out.
Awesome. Because
Okay.
we don't have to know everything, but we do know how to find answers. So we're gonna find out an answer for that one. And there was also another question from Monica. She says, will they also be able to vote for propositions in other elections? I think she might be talking about young people, or is she talking about?
Oh, I think she's talking. I don't know. I don't think any of these bills prevent people from voting on propositions at all.
Yeah, I don't know if you're talking about young people or people on parole.
Yeah.
Why is Andre saying stop it? I think
because we called him the town mayor. He just.
Sorry. I trust you.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Proposition 20. So, you guys, you've probably experienced this, maybe, Carroll. I don't know, because you're just super popular and people should know what your car looks like. But, a lot of people have had their cars broken into recently. And then there has been an increase in other, robberies, etc. And so some people feel it's because California passed Proposition 47, which kind of limits the amount of sentencing you get for minor crimes. So they're just like, this is a problem. We need to fix this, right? So what they want to do is they want to reclassify some property crimes like car break-ins and change them to a possibility of a felony, right? They want to limit also the eligibility of some violent crimes like domestic violence for the ability for them to go on parole. And they also want to increase the penalties for people who, are repeat parole violators. Finally, they want to authorize the police to collect DNA samples for property crimes. So they kind of just, they want to get back to this, pro-crime state that we've kind of, turned around since we passed, some bills like, not criminalizing, muggings or car break-ins or anything like that. They want to turn that around because they think there's just too much going on right now and folks just need to pay. So a yes vote would do all of these things, reclassify some property crimes to felonies, limit the eligibility of some violent crimes like domestic violence for the opportunity for parole, increases penalties for repeat parole violators, and authorizes the police to collect DNA samples for property crimes. Again, let me go back. Again, my animation didn't work. So that I want to say no to this. And the reason why is again, our criminal justice system is inherently racist. And so what it is, again, is just this opportunity to criminalize, crimes that are, I think are, small. Yes, that's inconvenient. Yes, it's like really scary to have to go through having your car window broken. But to have it be a felony, the possibility of being a felony is like almost like 3 strikes, a simple crime, and that's it. You're in jail for the rest of your life. So I kind of want to say no to this. Carroll, what are you thinking?
I just wish we cared as much about broken windows and stolen cars as we did about broken lives that are impacted by systemic racism and poverty. That's what I wish. Stop. Yeah. If we address poverty, then we'll have addressed the reasons why people engage in these petty crimes. So no, I'm not going to make this a felony. Our justice system is already racialized. No.
Cool. All right, we're in agreement again because we are like-minded. All right.
I have a quick question. He said, is there still 3 strikes? Do misdemeanors go towards 3 strikes? Misdemeanors do not go towards strikes. And yes, California still has a 3 strikes policy. And it's racist.
Right. Are we good? Let's move on. Proposition 21 expands rent control. So some of you might have noticed that we've been in a bit of an economic crisis, right? So, we've been in a housing crisis for a long time, but that has just been exasperated with COVID-19 because people haven't been able to work. And because they haven't been able to work, they haven't been able to have money to pay rent, to pay bills. And there's just been, months where people have been without work since March. And they're at risk of losing their homes. They're at risk of losing their apartments. And although there has been a reprieve that was passed last year, you guys might have known it, kind of like a price gouging bill that was passed, which kind of caps the amount of rent can be raised by, 6% or the local, CPI index. That was passed, and that lasts for like 10 years. But now that we're in COVID-19, folks can't pay rent at all.
At all.
So they're like, oh my goodness, we need to, do a little bit more. Local jurisdictions should be able to do more. They should be able to have rent control, for those that live in all kinds of properties. Because of Costa-Hawkins, people that live in single family homes that are newish, they aren't able to have rent control protections. This bill kind of does, again, it doesn't attack Costa-Hawkins. It kind of adjusts Costa-Hawkins to say, you know what, all property types for buildings that are older than 15 years, local jurisdictions should be able to decide whether or not they can have rent control for those buildings. Again, local jurisdictions have to decide this. But what this bill is doing is allowing local jurisdictions to decide this. Okay? And a no vote will not allow this. Carol, I have a feeling I know where you want to go on this.
I don't think you know what you think.
Ooh.
Psych.
I'll be like, what? Because
you already know. I mean, yeah, the rent is too high, and now most rents are too high because people are not working. Mm-hmm. So, I'm definitely supporting Prop 21. This is a baby step from what we were trying to do a few years ago in 2018 to repeal Costa-Hawkins. So, this is a step in the right direction.
Cool. I agree. Yes. And just because I just think tenants need more protections than they do. The majority of Oakland residents are tenants. Okay. And the majority of African Americans in Oakland are tenants. And I'm just seeing the crisis that we're experiencing right now. Everyone needs as much help as possible. So I'm voting yes on this. Hopefully everyone else does too. Yay. Any questions? Because I want to move on. We only have about 15 minutes and we have 2 more state propositions, or 3 more state propositions to go through. And these are biggies. Okay. Proposition 22. I don't know who doesn't know about this bill. I mean, there's a lot of commercials 24/7. What it does is basically a new law was passed last year, which actually it wasn't a law generated by lawmakers, which some of you may feel is the case. It wasn't. There was actually a company that was sued for hiring independent contractors and not providing them with benefits. And they were taken to court, and a California judge ruled against them and said, no, you have to classify your employees as, you have to classify these independent contractors as employees, and you have to provide them with benefits. So what happened was the state legislature, AB, had to put a law to kind of codify that court judgment. So what they did is they passed a law, AB 5, which now requires employers to reclassify certain independent contractors as employees and offer them full state benefits. And Uber and Lyft are like, no, we ain't trying to do that. So
Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, all them folks, like Giovanni said, there are so many ads for this proposition. Why is that?
Not only are there ads, if you happen to be a Uber and Lyft customer, you are getting text messages even when you're not even ordering a car. They're just sending you a text.
I just got one. I just got one just right now.
Right? They're sending you a text telling you to vote yes on Proposition 22.
Yes.
Basically, Uber and Lyft and all of these different companies, they are so invested in keeping them from having to follow this law that they're spending so much money to make sure that you vote yes on this. They're the ones that put this on the ballot. They're the reason why you're voting for this. So a yes vote on Prop 22 allows these companies to hire independent contractors and only offer some health benefits, maybe some guaranteed wages. I heard now that they're offering the ability to have some, automotive accident insurance, but there's no guarantee of what kind of, benefits those are. It doesn't equal to what you're actually allowed by state law. They're trying to get away with not providing these benefits. Now,
I gotta tell you though, Tonya, I gotta interrupt because a lot of people have something to say about this. Like we have Andre Wright, who I can't even count how many O's that he said so many ads. Deb Avery in Illinois said she's getting texts there. And then JJ Sexton says, you have to say you support it in order to get your lift. And then Talia is saying, it's also important to note that if Prop 22 passes, any amendments to the law would require a 7/8 majority in the state of California, which is virtually impossible.
Wait. Let me go back to this. So Lyft is saying if you don't say you're in support of this bill, then you can't get a ride?
That's what JJ Sexton said.
Wow.
They are not playing, and they are attempting to buy a seat on the city council in our at-large race. We got to kick not only Lyft up out this state, but out of Oakland. They need to kick rocks. So I'm sorry, Tonya, I preempted your response. So
no, I think it's okay. And I think there's a kind of a theme here, and you're going to hear about it in another proposition. But basically, there's a theme here is the companies are saying, if you make us comply with certain things that benefit, people that may be of lower class, if you force us to do something we don't want to do, we're going to just take our company and up and leave. So that's basically emotional and financial blackmail that these companies are enforcing on us.
Right.
And that's not the kind of society I want to live in. So,
and Monica Brooks said she wouldn't vote to support it just because the amendments clause at 7/8 is redunculous. She didn't use the words redunculous. Those are my words, but that's how I feel too. So Monica, yes.
Great. So I think
we're in agreement. I'm sorry, I'm preempting you.
No, you're right. We're in agreement. No vote. Vote no.
We do have a question now.
Okay.
Do part-time employers get benefits under the current law? Part-time employers benefits under Prop 22? Janice, is that what you're saying?
I think the benefits that are allowed by state law is according to full-time employment. Okay.
Other folks are saying kick rocks and bye.
All right. Bye. Yeah. Okay. Proposition 23. Again, here's another thing. This goes back to my other point. So in 2018, Californians, in the past, there was a bill called Proposition 8, which would limit the profits that dialysis clinics make. Okay. So some of you may not know, dialysis clinics make a lot of money. A lot. But what they're doing with that money isn't necessarily reinvesting into patient care or into their employees, but they still make a lot of money. And so there was an effort, people are saying, by the unions to kind of say, hey, look at what these dialysis clinics are doing. They're making bank, and they're not necessarily keeping their clinics clean or making sure that a doctor is on hand when patients getting service, or maybe, they're not paying their employees fair wages or providing benefits. But so what we want to do is we want to limit their ability to make money, right? But in 2018, it got shot down. So they're trying again. Maybe instead of limiting their money, let's just make sure that they follow basic rules, right? Let's just make sure that they have on-site medical physicians. Maybe, we mandate that clinics report if there's infection data. Maybe we should require them to go to the state before they can just shut down a clinic. Maybe we should just make sure that you're not engaging in insurance discrimination. These are just some, nice things that we would like a dialysis clinic to do. But instead, you're getting all these commercials saying, if you vote yes on Proposition 23, then my dialysis clinic will close and then I won't be able to get service. You know what that is? Again, it's games. It's blackmail. Because these dialysis clinics are saying, you know what? The reason why that will happen is because, we don't want to spend money on medical physicians. And so we're just going to close the clinic. And then, grandma and grandpa can't get dialysis. So there. So I think that's a little bit unfair. And again, me being pro-health and me, wanting to see that a clinic is, as healthy and clean and has on-site medical experts there. I'm going to kind of, before I ask you, Carol, I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm in support of this bill. What do you think?
I'm also in support of this bill. That was our 10-minute warning I just got from our producer.
Okay, there you go.
So yes, support it. Stop. They cannot hold us hostage.
Okay.
Another one was, when you start saying, because Andre Wright says, another one with so many ads, no wonder so much money is going into them. Always follow the money. I was going to say that, Andre, thank you. Follow the money. These are, if there's a bunch of ads, it's because there's a big spender behind it that is trying to convince you of something. And usually the only way we can fight back is with our local labor unions who can push back on these things. But their money is not nearly as long as these huge corporations that are trying to get more and more profit from whatever it is that they're doing. Follow the money.
Okay. Agree. Proposition 24. It expands consumer privacy. So in 2018, we passed a law requiring online companies to show us all the information that they collect about us. And we get to say whether or not we want to opt into their program where we're selling our information. So you guys might remember, if you're on Facebook, Facebook went through this thing and say, now you can see how we share your information and you can opt out of us doing that. But now the person who, wrote that law in 2018, they want to do more. Okay, so they want to be able to limit businesses from even using your info, whether it's location or health. They want to limit the amount of time that, companies can store the data. They want to triple fines for violating child privacy rights. And they want to create an agency to enforce those laws. Okay. So advocates are actually split on this, because some say, this would actually hurt consumers, and it actually delays the rule that voting yes on this would delay the existing law. But some opponents are saying tech companies that, they try to grab data, and they might grab your data if you leave the state. And some are saying, the 2018 bill just wasn't strong enough. We need to do more. So a yes vote would enact stronger protections for consumers, limiting businesses' ability to use your information, limiting the amount of time that they can store that information, and it triples fines for violating child privacy laws, and it creates a state agency to make sure that they are enforced. And a no vote keeps things the same. Carol, what do you think?
How do I make the symbol that you made? Like, I'm torn.
Torn. The equal torn. I'm for it. And just, I think people should just be able to have more ability for protections. But oddly enough, even though I'm for this bill, I'm actually one of those people that kind of buys into, Facebook knowing, what I like, just because, I want to be offered. I want out my iWatch to be able to know that I have, a heart murmur or something like that and can tell me what I need to do to fix it. I bought the watch for that express purpose.
Really?
Yeah.
So
some
I'm like on the opposite side. I don't want you to know anything about me.
Mhm.
No, get off my wrist. You're trying to read my mind? I don't
Yeah.
think so. Okay, I'm kidding, but still.
Okay. So we're kind of like in the middle on this.
Gosh, we have some questions. We have some great questions. We should probably circle back on another show because Danielle asked a question about Prop 22, and I'm concerned. I have kids who drive for Lyft, and she was like, "How will drivers be able to choose a flexible schedule?" And so, I didn't want to let that pass without bringing that up.
I think that's a good argument. And some are afraid that once a person becomes an employee, they can't have that flexibility. You have to work a certain number of hours. You have to make sure that, you clock in and you clock out. And so that's going to be hard, really.
Yeah.
At
I also think that good law, good policy, good legislation is not written for the anomaly. And I don't want to make it seem like there's only a few people with that concern, but the greater concern is the ability of people who want to work a job and have decent hours and who need health insurance and those kinds of things. That's who this is supposed to protect. And I'm supporting the large group of workers who need protections under this law. So that's why I'm supporting it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cognitive time. We have gotten through our last state bill. We're going to have to go through local bills maybe another time. But Proposition 25, in 2018, SB 10 was passed in the legislature. And what it does, it changed the old bail rules that allows the rich to get out of having to go to jail because while they're waiting trial, but basically get out of jail because they can afford to pay the astronomical bail fees, right? So, some of you may know, if you commit a crime, no matter how dangerous it is, you have to go to court, and then they'll hold you in jail until the court date. But you can get out of going to jail by paying, the bail fee. And sometimes, if you break a car window and you get caught and you have to wait for trial, they could charge you maybe $10,000 to $20,000. Maybe you only have to pay 10% of it, and that's $1,000. But if you're breaking into cars, you ain't got that kind of money, right? But Lori Loughlin here in this picture, she didn't have to wait. She did not have to wait in jail while they were deciding her fate because she could
I
pay.
did not know who that was. I didn't know that's who that was, Tonya. You are so roguish for that. That's so messed up. That's hella funny. That's hella funny.
Well, this image came from calmatters.org, so it wasn't me, but I just thought it was funny. So a yes vote will end the money bail system and allow actually a judge to say, you know what, this person is really kind of low risk on committing the crime again. Maybe they're not that violent. Let's let them off without bail. And they assess that risk based on the severity of the crime. And a no vote keeps things the way they are. So I just wanted to bring it up that there are many social justice organizations who aren't happy with this bill because they don't like the idea of a judge being an arbiter of risk because the judge themselves could be racist too, right? So it's funny because in that prime example that you see in the commercials, they talk about, a home white dude who raped homegirl and got away with it, right? He got away with it because the judge believed it was like, oh, good old boy, let's let him off, right? That's how he got away with it in the first place. So some people feel that, allowing judges to be arbiter of this is really problematic. Carol, what do you think?
Once again, I'm really torn on this one because of that very reason. I feel like the whole justice system is unjust. So if we leave it up to the judges, we could be in a worse situation. Right now, we do a lot of work bailing people out. And those just tend to be people with high profile cases that we know about or who know about us. But if we left it up to the judges, I'm concerned. I don't know. I need some folks to give me their feedback. What are you thinking?
So here's the thing, SB 10 has already passed and it's a legislative bill. So legislative bills can be amended, right? So what Proposition 25 is an effort by bail bonds committee to say, no, I want to be able to not have to, like the bail bonds, the people, they're just like, no, this will destroy, our jobs and everything. And so what they're wanting you to do is to vote no on this. So that way they don't have to follow the law, which is already enacted. So a legislative law can be changed, right? It can be fixed to make it better. But if you vote no on this, then this law will not go into effect. And it can't be fixed.
So what are you voting?
I'm voting yes.
Ooh.
Because I feel that the effort now is great. I want them to be able to fix this money bail system. It's not perfect right now. Obviously, having judge being the arbiter is just not good enough. There needs to be some checks and balances, but that's not going to happen if we say no now. So that's what I'm voting yes.
That's helpful. Dennis Albert says Wellstone Club says yes. Andre Wright says it makes me think of Khalif Browder. And yeah, and that's really sad. That breaks my heart. Thank you all for helping me with some decisions. Our producer's saying wrap the hell up.
Okay, we'll have to do this again because
we got to go local.
Yeah, all of you who still want further explanations, go to calmatters.org on YouTube. They have every explanation of these bills in 1 minute and handy dandy little commercials. They're great. Again, if you go on my Facebook page, I have this handy dandy chart of looking at the spending.
Shout out to Alfred Twu.
Alfred Twu, he's amazing. Follow him. Become his friend on Facebook. He's awesome.
I do have to add one more thing. Don't say anything yet.
Okay, go ahead.
Because people are super into Prop 22. And I just have to say, Sherry Murphy said that flexibility is something that it's a deceptive tactic from a $200 million campaign. And Jennifer said that Lyft, et cetera, all these different employers can create flexible schedules for employees who want to work fewer hours. Vote no on 22. I just had to throw that in.
Okay. And last but not least, mail your ballot by October 20th and drop it off your ballot or vote on November 3rd. Please, 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 please do it. That's it. Thank you. We'll do this again because I like talking to you, Carol, because you're fun.
I love talking to you too. You're like one of the best.
Yeah. Okay.
Can we see the Janet Jackson slide? I can do the whole video. Rhythm Nation.
If I was your girl. No, that's not appropriate. So
yeah.
All right. Bye, Carol.
Thank you all. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next Thursday.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.